Olá pessoal, in this lesson I'll show you the common phrases that you need to be able to talk about the weather in Brazilian Portuguese. I'm Fernando from Fun with Brazilian Portuguese. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so and click that bell icon so that you get a notification every time I post a new video. And check out my website fwbp-academy.com for more free content, ebooks and online courses. All links are below this video. Now let's get started with how to talk about the weather in Brazilian Portuguese. The word weather in Portuguese is tempo. Now the word tempo can also mean time. It depends on the context. Let's have a look at an example for each of these meanings. Eu não tenho tempo para estudar. I don't have time to study. Qual é a previsão do tempo para hoje? What is the weather forecast for today? There is another word that sometimes Brazilians use to refer to the weather, which is Clima. It literally means climate. Now, it's not very common though. It's much more common for Brazilians to actually use the word tempo when referring to the weather. To describe the weather, you can either use the verb estar, one of the verbs to be, or the verb fazer, which can either mean to make or to do. And that will depend on whether you are using a noun or an adjective to describe the weather. Let's see an example with the noun cold, frio. If you want to say today is cold, you can say hoje está frio. Or, to sound a little bit more natural, hoje está frio. You can also use the verb fazer, hoje faz frio. Literally, today it makes cold. I know it sounds a bit weird in English, but that is the literal translation. In the end, either with the verb estar or the verb fazer, it means today is cold. Let's see another example, this time with the noun sol, which means sun. With the verb estar, amanhã vai estar sol. Tomorrow will be sun. Remember that we're not using the adjective sunny, we're using the noun sun, sol. Just to sound a little bit more natural here, shortening the verb estar as always, amanhã vai estar sol. Now using the verb fazer, amanhã vai fazer sol. Tomorrow will be sunny, or literally translating, tomorrow will make sun. So that was with nouns. With nouns you can either use the verb estar or the verb fazer. However, if you are using an adjective, you can only use the verb estar. Remember we used the noun sun in the previous example, the noun sol. If you want to actually use the adjective sunny, which in Portuguese is ensolarado, you cannot use the verb fazer, you can only use the verb estar. And in this case, to say today is sunny, you can say hoje está ensolarado. Today is sunny. Another example, overcast or cloudy, nublado, that's the adjective. Hoje está nublado. Today is cloudy. And one last example, this time with the adjective hot. Hoje está quente. Today is hot. If we were talking about the weather that's happening right now, if you want to say, for example, it's raining now, with all verbs that are happening at the moment, we use the present continuous tense, and that is the verb estar plus the main verb in the gerund, the English equivalent of the ing, which in Portuguese would be NDO at the end. For example, it's raining now. Está chovendo agora. Here we have the verb estar plus the main verb chover, to rain, in the gerund, chovendo. Está chovendo agora. Another example, está nevando. It's snowing. Right, so now let's actually see some phrases that we can use when we want to ask about the weather. Number one, como está o tempo? What's the weather like? Number two, you can ask what the weather forecast is. Qual é a previsão do tempo para amanhã? What's the weather forecast for tomorrow? Or you can ask what the temperature is. Qual é a temperatura agora? What's the temperature now? Now let's see some phrases that we can use if we want to start chatting to someone. Like in English, it's very common for people to make a comment about the weather as a way to start a conversation. The same thing happens in Portuguese. Let's see some examples. If you want to say, what horrible weather, you can say, que tempo horrível. Or if you want to say, what beautiful weather, que tempo lindo. It's actually very common for people to say things like, que frio, how cold it is, or que calor, how hot it is. Calor is actually a noun that means heat, but it's very common for people to use calor when they are referring to hot weather. Que calor, how hot it is. Let me know in the comments if you found this video useful, and don't hesitate to ask if you have any questions. If you did enjoy this video, please show your support by hitting that like button. Muito obrigado, até a próxima!